To the Jackson Cloud. I'm Jamin.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Olivia.
And we're into the next the next phrase within the verse that we were in last time, Revelation 1:5, which says that Jesus was the faithful witness. That was our last episode. But now into the phrase that Casey's been waiting for many episodes, he's the firstborn of the dead, which Olivia says she has the answer.
Okay, you ready? Firstborn of the dead, because he is the first to come back to life after dying. Therefore, born out of the gates of death.
Yeah, correct. So, what was that?
Didn't somebody in the Old Testament bring somebody back to life?
Well, okay, so let's talk about the difference between resurrection and the raising of the dead.
Because when I'm thinking firstborn of the dead is I start thinking of video games and necromancy. It's what comes into my head.
Some think of Jesus.
Heresy.
Casey thinks of necromancy.
Well, when you're talking about firstborn of the dead, Lazarus, was resurrected or came back to life after dead. Wasn't it Elisha?
Yeah.
Brought somebody back.
Kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and then doesn't Paul do it as well?
Yep.
So it's
Dorcas.
Sure.
No, that was Peter. Peter raised Dorcas.
Oh, okay.
Paul raised a kid who got bored during
fell out of the window. Yeah.
During a message Paul was preaching for 3 hours.
Oh.
And fell to his death.
So I don't know, with those being previous examples of people coming back to life, it doesn't really make sense that Jesus is the first because he would be the third in this case.
No, he's well beyond that. I mean, he raised some kids too.
Okay.
So, in this particular case, we're talking about resurrection, which I think...
How is that different, though, than just coming back from the dead?
So,
I don't remember, but there is a difference.
Right. Everyone that you just mentioned came back to life and then did what?
Died again.
Yeah. Jesus came back to life and now does what?
Lives.
Still alive.
Forever, right? Faithful witness. In our last episode, he's like the moon. He's that concretely established. It's never going
So
away.
hold on. Was this written while some of those people were still alive, or had all of them died at this point?
I don't know, but what John is getting at with the entire book of Revelation is the resurrection that is to come. And resurrection is not just a, hey, we came back to life. Resurrection is, hey, we have become glorious, immortal beings that cannot die, cannot see corruption, cannot do anything that's related to death anymore, because death has been killed and everything that belonged with the underworld and death itself has been burned out. So you are now an eternal being, like an angelic being. You are a glorified human, which is like Jesus after he's been resurrected.
So what you're saying is coming back to life is just coming back to life. Resurrection is coming back to life as a Super Saiyan.
Sure.
Why Dragon Ball Z?
Well, because that has the best jump of you were this, then with this you become this. It's the best.
No. This is Revelation. We're working in sevens. So after you find the 7 chaos
Oh
emeralds,
my gosh.
Sonic then becomes Super Sonic. No. But I don't even know if the Bible distinguishes as far as the word goes between resurrection of someone who died and brought back to life. I don't remember. But the resurrection that John is referring to is what Olivia is saying, is that Jesus is the first one to die and then come back in a resurrected, glorified body that cannot die, cannot see corruption, as Paul says. It is immortal. His old body as Paul says, was like a seed planted in the ground, and then it gave life to this new body that came to be. And that's something that a lot of people don't distinguish. We think of Jesus before and after the cross as the same, like, all right, gotta go put my skin on again, you know, like, and just like his spirit.
That is the most disgusting phrase. Please don't ever say it again.
You know, one of my favorite parts about Jesus conquering death is
What?
when they go into his tomb and they find he's not there. They do find his
garments.
His garments, or like the burial cloths. They find that folded. I just love this Jesus firstborn of the dead image of, I went to hell and back.
Now
I
let me
took
fold
out
my
Satan.
clothes.
I stole the keys of death. I told the fallen angels that their judgment was still ahead of them. And then I went back upstairs
And folded my clothes.
folded my burial cloths, and got on with my life.
Man, if Jesus can do all that and still find time to fold his clothes, then so can you.
False.
Well, the I think the important thing what I was getting at
Before the chaos
right.
ends.
Pre-Jesus, we need to remember pre-Jesus, post-resurrection Jesus, this Jesus up here, right? When he's walking on the road with Emmaus, they don't recognize him. Now, I don't know if that's a superpower of the resurrection, or I don't know if like his body's been changed in some
It's
way.
just disguised self.
I mean,
it's fine.
Originally, he was Jewish and from the Middle East, whereas here
He's white.
he's white. So I mean, I wouldn't recognize him either.
Yeah.
It's a good disguised self spell.
Well, in this particular case, though, like he's not recognized then. I think there actually is a passage with Peter where it says like Peter didn't have to ask because he knew it was Jesus, and like that weirds me out. I'm like, what does that mean? like I didn't have to ask because I knew it was Olivia. Like that doesn't make any sense here. Maybe it's just that like he knew he should be dead, but he wasn't, or maybe that's Peter like that looks a little different, but I know it's him. You know, it could be that. Jesus can walk through walls. I mean, it's all. I don't even know if it's walk through walls as much as like pop in and out of like spiritual realm to physical realm.
So he's
Maybe.
Nightcrawler.
Well, I mean, he just appears in an empty room. Like it doesn't say that he walked through walls, but then so that's a spiritual thing. He walks through physical matter, but then as a physical demonstration of the resurrected body, he picks up a fish and eats it. And the whole point behind that is like disciples think they're seeing a ghost. Like no, watch this. Ghosts don't eat fish. So now we're like, okay, whatever we're looking at.
Wait, did he eat bones and all?
Probably not. I don't know. Maybe the resurrected body eats fish bones. But what we do see, like in that one story with the disciples, is Jesus just did something spiritual bodies are capable of, like angels being able to appear and unappear.
Teleport.
But then he also eats physical matter, which, you know, that's not ghost-like, so he's not just a spiritual body. Paul talks about it as a spiritual body, but the way he describes a spiritual body is a physical body. Lazarus didn't have that. The kid didn't have that. The kid Jesus raised, Dorcas, didn't have that. Kid Paul killed and raised didn't have that. Sorry, didn't kill him, but bored him to death, I guess is maybe the expression. All those people... I
mean, really, gravity killed him.
Right. All those people are not firstborn of the dead in the sense that Jesus is. Because in that case, anyone at the hospital today who's been, you know, CPR'd back to life or... back to life. I can't think of the word. Defibrillated back to life. All those are not the same thing, right? Jesus is a special kind of put on a new body. Now, what's awesome about this is he's called what? The firstborn of the dead, which means what for us?
There are more to come.
Right. Yeah. So right from the beginning of Revelation, recognizing that the rest of Revelation is going to get into stories about resurrection, new creation, new bodies. I hear the dead bones rattling, you know, that kind of thing, coming back to life.
An army of dry bones.
Yeah. Like this is all prophesying the second-born, third-born, fourth-born. You know, I don't even know are we all just the second-born, or like just go with the analogy of like everybody else being brought back to life as well. Like that's what's ahead for Christians.
I have another interesting question. We won't be able to answer it, but it's a question. Who is the last born of the dead?
Jesus is the first and the last.
Oh, okay.
That just goes against everything you just said.
No, but yeah, part of what John is setting people up from the beginning. Jesus was resurrected. You will be too. And this is also going to feed into his faithful witness message. Some of you are going to die following Jesus. Remember, right from the get-go of his letter, remember, resurrection is ahead of you, and that's worth any price. In fact, if we go to the end of Revelation, who's brought back to life first? Who's resurrected first? Those who were beheaded for Jesus.
John the Baptist,
There you go. Well,
otherwise known as John the Forerunner. He'll be the first one. I don't know. I'm just hypothetically.
so I don't know. Scholars never know what to do with that verse. Or like first resurrection, second resurrection. Revelation is the only place that even talks about that. And so we were like, and John's weird already, right? So it's hard to understand what he's saying. But he says that the first ones to be resurrected for 1,000 years before everybody else is those who were beheaded. And that to me stands out as a possibility of like extra reward. These people had a shortened lifespan on earth. Now they get more earth than everybody else. And I don't know that that's going to be the way it goes down. I have not heard any commentary agree with me on that. All I know is like this whole thing is about being a faithful witness even if it gets you killed. Makes complete sense to me. Like you died for this, you're gonna live for it a little bit longer. I don't know what that means in the light of eternity.
Yeah, I'm like,
still.
What even is like? How much bonus time do they get?
Well,
like,
I think it's the first 1,000 years. That's what's gonna bum me out if I'm like second, or I guess I'd be third born.
Just think about it. After everyone is removed from Earth, these 1,000 people get all of it.
And like,
Think about how much space they get to themselves. If
Olivia's
they're
thinking in
introverts, they're
introverted
gonna
terms
be
here.
like living the dream.
but here's the thing though: how many of them will know technology at that point? So whatever technology we have left, they won't know how to use it.
I mean, some of them might. You don't know that in the future people aren't gonna still get beheaded for Jesus.
I mean, I guess it's true, but to teach everybody all the technology they need to use is going to be...
No. You just have one going and teaching all the grandparents.
Like...
are there grandparents in heaven, or are we all
No,
like,
I'm just saying like
resurrected into
figuratively
youthful?
because you know it's usually us youngins that gotta teach the grandparents how to use the technology.
Yeah.
And even most of them don't care enough to reset their VCR.
We're thinking
Reset.
in super abstract terms right now.
I know, it's true.
Wait, why do VCRs need to be reset?
Well, like...
Come on, Grandpa Casey. Explain a VCR to Olivia.
So when they lose power, they don't have an internal battery to keep the clock going. So they always have to reset their clock to the right time or with daylight savings time.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think my family ever set the clock on our VCR when I was a kid.
I thought she would say, I don't know what a VCR is.
I know what a VCR is. I just don't think ours had a clock on it. Or if it did, we just never set it up.
Right, which is most people.
Jesus is the firstborn of the dead, which means if you follow him, you are coming alongside, you are within the line of Christ, and you will too be brought back to life. As to all the details as to when and how and if it's all once or twice, I don't know. Revelation's confusing. But just as Jesus is faithful witness, so we are to be a faithful witness. Just as Jesus is the firstborn, so we will come alongside him. That is promised to us too. And our next episode, which is the end to this sentence, is he's also the ruler of kings on earth. So Let's get our political rhetoric. Can you say it either way? Rhetorical. That's
Anyway.
coming up next as we discuss what life looks like if Jesus is king. Join us then.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.
And if you put a comment saying that you know how to reset your VCR, put it here. You'll get a thumbs up from me.